Hey, if you're new to the show here, give us a subscribe, give us a like, tune in to Comeback Sports every Wednesday at 8 p.m. US Eastern. But give us a like here, give us a subscribe, and come back and ring that bell so you can get all your live content fed right to your page. But we are talking about the United States Grand Prix and the return of the US Grand Prix and how it was just a huge, big success for F1 and for American F1 fans.
Yeah, so it was reported that there were over 400,000 fans in Austin, Texas for the U.S. Grand Prix, which is huge for F1 here in America. I know in 2018 they had something like 264,000. So, you're not doubling it, but, you're almost doubling it with that amount of fans. We spoke before about how people just want to get back to these live events. It's been so long that people have been able to go to stuff like this, especially here in the United States, that now, they're having these outdoor big events. They're in Austin, Texas. Austin's a great city. And they've had F1 before. They had it again. And people from all over the country went to this, like they do most, other F1 races. People from the country that it's in kind of flock to that particular city. But yeah, this was wild. I mean, I think that's the biggest crowd they've ever had in F1 racing ever, I think. I'll have to check the numbers on that one, but 400,000 people is just amazing. And this only helps F1 Miami, which is next year, right, Brandon? With F1 going to Miami, this only helps the popularity of that, because now people are going to want to go down there too. Everybody thought it was such a great success. You saw that the TV ratings were great. The in-person ratings were great. You're going to get great sponsorship in the Miami one now because of the success of the Austin one. So this is just good for sort of American popularity of F1 racing, and this is only going to continue.
Yeah, no, it's blowing up right now. F1 is blowing up, and I love seeing it. Obviously, I've been a Formula One fan for many, many years, over a few decades. So I love seeing that other fans are catching on to it finally here in the United States. But 400,000 people over the weekend for the United States Grand Prix is the biggest sporting event since the return of the Indy 500 earlier this year. And I don't know if the Indy 500 had more or if the U.S. Grand Prix had more. I believe the U.S. Grand Prix just inched them out and had a few more in attendance over the weekend. So that is big news. But the real big news is the increase of the fans there. Like you said, from 2018 to even 2019, I believe they said it was a 48% increase in the amount of fans from 2019 to 2021. So, and a lot of people are bringing up Drive to Survive, obviously, and Netflix, and seeing how that has really been a big driving force here and bringing, F1 to not only more of a global market, but definitely wide opening the eyes of American fans here to a great sport. And I think that is definitely true. And I think it showed here with that number of attendance. Usually when they call that Haas Hill going up into turn one at Austin, and usually there'll be a lot of people there. But this year, oh my God, it was so many people packed on top of each other. And man, it looked like a cutout. Like there was just so many people there. It just didn't look real at one point when the camera panned through it. But great for American fans, great for Formula One. And that's why Formula One's talking about bringing more additional races to America, obviously, with the Miami Grand Prix in May of 22. But there's obviously rumor of a third American race popping up, with either Las Vegas being in the mix or potentially the Indianapolis road course, which would both be too amazing. I mean, Las Vegas, that would be amazing. It would have to be a night race, in my opinion, because of how hot it is in Vegas. So Vegas under the lights would be amazing with these F1 cars. And then the Indianapolis road course, they've been there. F1's been there in the past. So to go back there would be absolutely amazing. But this Grand Prix lived up to all the hype, and it was great to have the F1 back in Austin and back here in the United States. But obviously, we got to talk about Max Verstappen getting the win, his 18th career win all time. He pulled it out and managed to beat Lewis Hamilton and had himself a great drive. But in my opinion, the star of the day was his teammate, Sergio Perez, for a few reasons. He finished on the podium, had a great drive, had a great qualifying, was one of the fastest guys on track all weekend long. But another reason why I'm picking him as star of the day is on lap one, his drink system failed. His drink system failed. He had no water, no drink for the entire race. at the end of the race was almost dehydrated, could barely get out of the car, said he could barely move his legs and his hands, and he still managed to have a great drive and drive that Red Bull onto the podium. So I really think that is the story of the weekend, on top of the endless amount of support he got there. Obviously, a Mexican-born driver in Texas getting a ton of support. And when we go to the Mexican Grand Prix, man, you're going to see even more support for Checo. So I really think, whatever else happened for Red Bull, Max, Lewis, or anybody, I really think the star of the weekend and the story of the whole weekend was obviously the attendance, but I think Sergio Perez was really the star of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And, we sort of, at this point, we sort of expect Verstappen and Hamilton to just be in the top 2 or top 5, every single race, especially now down the stretch with the way things are going right now and how they're duking it out for the top spot. But, Perez all of a sudden has been, driving really well and getting into those top spots as well, and getting to the podium and finishing the top 5. And he's sort of been the next guy in the mix with those two guys. So, but this is, having this back in Austin is just awesome. And again, to have those two guys finish in the top and then Perez third too, I think was huge too, because it added to the excitement of not just being at the race again, but understanding, where the standings are and understanding where the team standings are and how close Red Bull is to Mercedes again, especially after that race. So the whole thing was just great for, I think, F1 racing across the board. So, folks, that is going to do it for topic number 6.